It's such an honor to be here. Humbling and inspiring, particularly listening to Ron's stories. I'm Candice. I'm with Eileen Fisher, a women's fashion company. And I attended the Launch 2020 Summit in April, where the Systems Challenge was issued. I recognized it as a call to action that Eileen Fisher could respond to, but I knew it wasn't about us responding alone. It was about bringing together diverse stakeholders to address a problem we all face. We make stuff. We maximize profit at the expense of the life force of human beings, particularly women, and the planet. We're the source of the problem, the author of the story. Business is the ignition point, the white-hot center of a system-wide problem. If we continue to do business as usual, we'll accelerate the story's end, humanity's end. Eileen Fisher is a company that feels an urgency to write a different narrative. We're figuring out how to make stuff in a world of limited resources, how to place people and communities at the center of the values chain, how to bring into being the unwritten future. Eileen calls it business as a movement. The primary purpose, the why of business, is to make a positive difference in the world through our actions, including how we work. But it's not just about us as a single company. It's about harnessing the collective power, the genius of business. Business as a movement, where profit is not our primary driver, it's a result. Where purpose drives business, the knowledge that we are all intimately connected. I heard Ron tell the story of his landing in Kazakhstan at the Launch Summit in April. And I couldn't get the image out of my mind of him looking out the capsule window. And as he got closer to Earth, the tiny blue flower he saw growing out of rock. That singular view of home, not where I'm from or you're from, but our one blue planet. The realization that we are one community, are surviving, are thriving, undeniably linked. That's what's at the heart of the Blue Flower Collaborative. It's a prototype of doing business differently, a shift in perspective, transforming the how and why of business. Blue Flower reframes the existing textiles values chain. It's a three-petaled system, a local supply chain that's worker-owned and cooperatively run. A new bio-based fiber derived from used clothing we take back, with a focused commitment to the prosperity and empowerment of women and girls. We're targeting women and girls because they're the most vulnerable population, the highest leverage point. Blue Flower is not a static business model, it's a living system, and the prosperity and empowerment of women and girls is a heartbeat of that system. The businesses will be primarily run and owned by women, women most at risk employed. But it's not about creating dead-end minimum wage factory jobs. It's about creating life-affirming jobs. We're building entrepreneurial training into the Blue Flower supply chain, mentorship with successful women entrepreneurs, leadership training programs that will extend into the community to include teenage girls, creating pathways for financial independence and personal growth. We're developing a sustainable alternative to viscose, a fiber we're calling e-cose. It starts with Green Eileen. We don't want to use our forests to create textiles, so we're turning to discarded textiles to create new clothing. We collect in our Eileen Fisher stores gently worn Eileen Fisher clothing, and that's cleaned and resold in our Green Eileen stores. But about 20% of what we take back is not resellable. So from that stock, we'll take fabrics comprised of cellulosic fiber, cotton, linen, rayon, hemp, and create a new fiber. The fabrics will go to a state-of-the-art sorting and prep facility. We're working with 2 innovators on the next 2 steps, creating closed-loop processes to recover the fiber, create a cellulosic soup out of which a new fiber is derived. That's spun and dyed, seamlessly knit or cut and sewn, and the waste from the cutting floor goes back into the soup and becomes a new fiber again. We're designing sustainable processes into every step of the values chain. We're building the physical plant from the ground up. So not only is it net zero impact, it will be positive impact. The values chain is about radical localness, doing it in one place, rooting business in place, so we're part of the community we're living in. We're prototyping it in the Bronx, the poorest urban county in the United States. A primary purpose of the values chain is to lift people out of economic insecurity and into economic prosperity. So worker ownership is an ignition point. It's built into the DNA, as is a cooperatively run business structure and new and unexpected partnerships, bringing fiber innovators together who would typically compete, fashion brands who would typically compete. So it's a shift from the kind of competition that's endemic in the fashion industry to collaboration from a systems perspective. We're envisioning an alliance of interdependent partners who are committed to the well-being of all. Every part of the system looking out for the whole, making decisions together for the good of the entire values chain. The Bronx is a pilot. The issues that exist in the Bronx are global issues. We want to create the first ever apparel innovation zone. We're taking the first step, but to be successful, we need others to come with us, to create a model that's replicable anywhere in the world. Eileen started the business about 30 years ago with $350 in the bank. She didn't know how to draw or sew or make a pattern. She had this picture in her mind of simple clothes that went together. And she turned to others to help her make it real. Collaboration was built in from the start, with innovation and risk-taking at our core. On the Eileen Fisher Blue Flower team, we have systems thinkers, social entrepreneurs, change agents, an industrial ecologist, a global manufacturing expert, a beekeeper, and a poet. Our early partners, MIT Collab's Bronx Cooperative Development Initiative, BCDI, who are working on a game-changing urban economic development model. They have started to court us, and the courtship has become mutual. They would like us to be part of their incubator and their manufacturing anchor in the Bronx. We've been consulting with Mondragon, the world's largest consortium of worker-owned companies. They're based in Spain. They're the largest employer in Spain. Lenzing is a long-term supplier of Eileen Fisher. We've sent them old Eileen Fisher garments to work with to begin to develop this new fiber. We're in conversation with Renewcell, an innovator from Sweden, who's working on the cellulose recovery stage of the process. MIT's Presencing Institute has offered their support. They see Blue Flower as the emerging future. What we need to make Blue Flower a reality, the beginning of a movement. collaborative and cutting-edge partnerships. On the technical side, Lenzing and Renewcell are in the midst of figuring out their innovations. We'd like to bring them together, given our mantra, collaboration, not competition, as well as others who are at the forefront of this work so we can accelerate it and nail it together. We're looking for partners who are pioneering the garment sorting and preparation stage, who are really trying to resolve the issues that the innovators face. We're looking for business partners, people who can help us think this through conceptually and at the implementation stage. How do you structure a human-centered values chain? How do these businesses work together? How do we make it real to create this cooperative structure where everybody's still making their profits? How do we think about workers and manufacturing as assets, not costs? So we're writing a different future for fashion, for how we make stuff. We're looking for financial partners, people who can help us think about how to structure Blue Flower, how to finance it. Is it a co-investment model? Is there venture capital? Is it something else? What does it look like? We're looking for visionary partners who see Blue Flower as the emerging future, who want to fast forward business as a movement. Thank you.
Can you wait on stage? We're going to have an opportunity for a couple of questions first. Just wait on stage for a second. Just answer a couple questions first.
Okay.
So we're going to make a slight modification to what we did yesterday. What we did yesterday is that after all the innovators had presented, we had an opportunity to ask broad questions to the group of them. What we realized is that there was the need to immediately, when people have burning questions after a presentation, to ask very specific questions about this particular innovation. These are not the broad questions that, for example, that Ed asked about, can you explain where all of you guys are in relation to scale? Let's save those for the panel, which we will have. But if there are any questions right now that specifically have to do with this innovation that you may have, we'll take a few minutes just to ask those questions right now.
Will has his hand up.
Bill.
Great presentation. And on the technology roadmap, where are you? Are you at the very beginning, or have you done any proof of concept?
You know, I can give you a general answer to the question. We have our sustainability leader here with us today, Shona Quinn, who has really been leading that aspect. But the quick answer is Renewcell seems pretty close, if not done, on the cellulose recovery piece. But on actually deriving the yarn, creating the yarn, that there's still some technical challenges in that. And then maybe, I don't know if this is really the right time, Todd, but if it's not, then maybe we can kind of answer your question more deeply later.
Great.
Will is getting into his chair so he can lean into the mic.
Thanks, great presentation. I just wanted to ask so I love the concept of a human-centered values chain. It's very ambitious because you're putting together a bunch of pieces where normally folks don't even achieve one or two of them. So if you had to articulate kind of your one or two top-line objectives for the project or the program, what would they be? I mean, what do you think the most important ones are to get right?
You know, I have to say it's not really how we're thinking about this, because it's so systems oriented. So I could probably say in each aspect, in each petal of the system, what feels most important now. But I think it would be sort of off the mark. It's so much about creating a a values chain that's really driven quite differently from the way we see values chains driven right now. That I won't want to pluck off, well, the most important objective is getting the fiber right, for example, or the most important objective is figuring out, we talk about empowerment of women. What does that actually mean? What does it look like in practice? How do you make it happen? I couldn't choose one as a primary. They're all so linked together, and it's very much about businesses behaving differently with each other inside some kind of cooperative structure, even if the businesses are independently owned. What does it look like to have businesses work together for the good of an entire values chain? So I guess that's 3.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay.